What are loaded deals? Geleide transacties in Afrikaans. Now, sometimes the purchaser doesn't have the funds available to pay the transfer costs when he acquires a property, and maybe even also not the funds to pay the bond registration costs. So what the purchaser and the agent then sometimes do is that they add the costs to the purchase price. Let's say the purchase price is 900,000 Rand that the seller and the purchaser have agreed on, and then the agent and the purchaser might decide to increase that purchase price to 950,000 Rand, and then in the contract of sale or in an addendum stipulate that the costs are included in the purchase price, or that the seller will actually pay the transfer costs. In other words, the seller would still get about 900,000 Rand only, because he would then have to pay the costs from the 950,000 Rand. Question is that acceptable to the banks, etc.? Now, answer is yes, it's fine, as long as you don't mislead the bank, as long as you don't hide anything from the bank. If you apply for the loan for 950 and you clearly in the agreement disclose to the bank that it includes the costs, which would therefore in effect actually be paid by the seller, then it's okay. But if you, for example, sign a contract of sale and, as sometimes happens, have an addendum in which it's stipulated that the seller will pay the costs, and you don't submit that addendum to the bank, then obviously you are misleading the bank, and that is not acceptable. The banks are very strict, in my experience these days, with loaded deals. They actually expect the transferring attorneys to sign confirmation of the purchase price to ensure that the costs are not included in the purchase price as such, or the conveyancer would in such a case then have to disclose in that statement that the costs are indeed included, and then the bank might not be prepared to borrow the funds to the purchaser. Sometimes they are, but in many cases they aren't, and then the bank might of course withdraw the loan.